And now let's get inside and we will get to our content pages. Okay, so now I'm on this front cover. If I want to start designing on page 2, I just double click it. Control-0. I need to move it over a little bit. All right, so here we are on our content pages. And now if this was a magazine, we would want the whole entire background to, sometimes if you want like a image that bleeds from this page to this page, you can put an image on the entire page, and that's what we're going to do. So the first thing we need to do is create a bounding box. Does anybody know how? Oh, let me go back up here for a second. Let me go, because I just noticed this one error thing. So let me just take a pause from what I was saying and say, you see how it says one error here? InDesign is really great because, you know, if you're creating a 100-page document, well, you're going to want to know where errors are in your document. If you click on this, it gives you options to do a pre-flight panel, okay? And they show you this error, and they're telling you where your error is, okay? And what they're saying is one of your text frames has an error in it, and then you can look and you see this little red plus sign. They're saying that all of your text didn't fit in here. So if you want all of your text to show, you're going to have to create a bigger text box, or you're going to have to connect your text boxes to make sure all of your text fits in your frame. So make sure you always look in this little area because it'll tell you what your errors are. Okay, that's just a side note. All right, but I noticed that and I want to mention that earlier. Okay, so let's double click on page 2, Control-0 to get things back in the middle. I'm just going to move it over because of my menu here is on the right. All right, so now I want an entire image to fit into this back page as we start designing. Now, how do I put an image on the entire back page? Either one of you. I think you're on mute, Balbina.
I put a mute sometimes. I think it's one of the boxes, a square box, but I don't know which one is between the one of the two. Yes, that one. I think it's that one. You click all the box from the red. Yeah, the first one to the corner, and then I don't remember the after.
Okay, that's all right. That's excellent. You're right. You put it on the whole thing, and we put it out here because of the bleed, right? We want to make sure our image is passive bleed. So we do File, Place, and let's place this image is pretty. We'll say Open. Now you see what it does. Now we have to fit this in. So what do? We
right.
Yep.
Right click.
Yep.
Setting.
Yep. Yeah, whatever one you want. Yeah, let's do it proportionally. Now, okay, so what it did is it fit it proportionally, but because that image, they did the best they could, but we want to make sure it spreads across our entire spread. So we just click on the image. I'm going to zoom out a little bit by doing Command minus or Control minus on the PC. And I'm going to take the image and make it shift it because I want to keep it in proportion. I'm shifting and holding, but I want to make it a little bit bigger. And then I want to move it to make sure it covers the entire back. Okay. All right.
I have a question. That won't distort the image quality?
Well, no, not if you have a really large, okay? So, and I'll show you when we output it as a PDF, it'll be nice and clean. Now, when you're working with images in InDesign, it does look like it's a little pixelated, but if you have a large enough image, you have to make sure your original image is large enough to make sure it can stretch over such a large space, you know, but you can make sure your original image is high quality. These images I downloaded were huge. They were like 2100 pixels by, because I knew I was going to use them in these large spaces. So it really is up to your original image. But if you look at this image that they use here, it will not look like this. They're just doing placeholder images, so you won't have these huge files to move around when you're trying to lay out. But I'll show you that once we export at the end. But yes, to answer your question, it will not if you have a good enough image at the beginning. All right, so now I'm going to start creating on this page, but I sort of would love, instead of like pulling out the reds and the greens and the light blue if it picks it up, like I don't want to pull out all these colors to create a color theme. So what do I have to do to create a color theme? Do you remember, Elise?
It's hard to remember like the name of the buttons
Yeah.
from because just my view of the screen.
Yeah.
But
The little
I remember seeing it.
Yeah.
the little like drop thing color down that one. Yes.
This one right here?
I forgot. Yes.
Yeah. The color theme tool. Excellent. You guys got it. You knew what it was. So you click on it. I'm going to click anywhere in this image. And let's see what happens to our theme colors. Oh, wow. How pretty, right? It went ahead and clicked on and created a theme for me. So I like those colors. So what I'm going to do, and you can also, if you click on this arrow, it gives you more options. It gives me bright, dark, deep, muted, which is great. I mean, that way I can already.
Wait, sorry, Leah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Did you click on a specific spot or did you just click wherever on the photo?
Yeah. I just clicked wherever on the photo. I just clicked in the middle. It picks them all up for you.
Okay. Okay.
It's a really awesome tool. But I like, because I like this blue here. So I'm going to actually pull the muted colors because I want to include this like bluish thing going on here. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to, now how do I add these colors in my color theme to my swatches? Here are my swatches here. I have my other two color themes. How do I add that? Yep, that's it. You click on the square. Yeah. And see how it gives me muted theme, and here are my colors. This is a great tool, right? All right, so here is my layout. So I want to put a color box here on the left. Actually, I'm gonna put it here on the right. I really like this tree. I think it's pretty. So I'm gonna put a small box. So I'll take this rectangle tool. I'll draw my box. All right, so right now my box is transparent on the inside with a black stroke. It's shown right here, but it's also shown here at the top. How do I change this so it's the color, it's this nice bright orange? Balbina?
I don't know if it's, I know it's up there, one of but I don't know if you have to click.
It's already clicked, so
Oh, it's already click, okay. Okay, you go up there or no? You cannot, I thought you go up there here.
Yeah, you can go here. If I want to change the inside, that's this one. If I want to change the outside stroke.
You want to change it all, don't you, inside the top one. And then you go to down to your theme color, mute, you like to say, and choose the color.
There you go. You got it, sis. Good job. Now, I don't want a stroke on this. So you see how you may not be able to see it. There's a tiny little arrow here. You just click this arrow and that switches the colors, but I don't want to do that necessarily. I actually want to keep this orange. I just want to remove my stroke. I don't want to stroke at all, even though the stroke is right now is orange, the same color. So if you click back and forth, if you see I click on the square, I can click on the stroke. You can click back and forth. I'm clicking on the stroke now, and I don't want anything. So I go to none, and I don't have a stroke on there. We don't need a stroke on there. All right. So far we have this. Now I don't really want this to be, you know, I like the design element. I don't want this to be a stark line here. I actually want it to fade out. Now, how would I do that, Elise?
Gradient tool.
Yeah.
No, gradient feather something.
Yeah, there you go. Good job. So I'll take click my gradient feather. I make sure I have that box highlighted and I move out. Okay. And you can adjust it. Like if you just want a little bit of piece of a gradient, you can do a short line. If you want it longer and stretch across, you can do that. And that's how you would get that type of line. Okay. I actually don't like that element, so I'm just going to keep it. All right, so now we can do some text, and there's also, do you remember when I was sharing with you guys in Photoshop and Illustrator and all of them, if you click and hold the type tool here, you can get options. Anything that has that little arrow in the bottom right, it gives you options. So if you want it to have type on a line, for example, let's do a circle, ellipse tool. I'm just clicking, I'm pressing shift to make sure that it stays in proportion. You can barely see it, so let me fill it with pink, for example. All right, so then my type text tool, you can literally click anywhere on a line of anything that you create. And then you can you click on it, and let's make it about 60. And it just fits to that line. So that can be a really cool element if you want to put something on a line. Let's go back to the Dido. Let's do bold. And you can also completely get rid of your color. And you can just have a word. So you can have some cool design elements there. But that's in every single Adobe program. It's just type on text on a line. And you can do it as if you wanted it on. Well, this is my pen tool. I'm just clicking and pressing shift to give me some curves. You can do the same thing. It's a line. You can say happy days are here again. And then you can highlight, make it 125, too big. Still too big. All right, it's doing, oh, I know why. It's doing something weird because my line was a little bit weird, but you guys get the point. It could be really, let me fix it. Actually, I want you to not see what I'm talking about. I did something weird when I made my line. All right, let's do that again. So it's created a line. Happy days are here. And we highlight it. And we go 65. It's too big. Let's not do 65. Let's do 25. All right. And I don't want to see that line, so I delete it by making it invisible. And then you can have a really cool element. You do not just shift. Shift only does your box. You want to do shift control or shift command, and it creates all your text. Okay. Really simple, but if you have a vision for something, it can be really great. Anyway, so I got off on a little bit of a tangent, but anyway, so your type tool, I'm gonna write serves. Oh. And now, okay, I want to change the size of this tool, and excuse me, size of this text, but I also want to change the color. And what do I need to do, Balbina?
You highlight the text. You can go and change the size over there. And
Perfect.
you say the color too, you go to the T.
Right? Perfect. And how do I change the font?
The Or the next to the receiver.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Mhm.
Easy, easy. You guys, you know, you got it. It's not a hard thing. So I'm gonna make this big. So I do shift and command. Shift and command. Oopsie. I want to make my box bigger because it's getting a little out of control. Shift and command. And then shift. Okay, so when I'm turning my text box, if I do this and I want to get it straight up, you can do your best because there's a line here. It's pixelated, pixelated, pixelated. It's starting to get straighter and straighter, or I can press shift and it does that on those different angles. And that's what I want. I want it nice and clean. So I just press shift, command, command. Okay, easy stuff. All right. So now I want to create, so also, oh, this is a good point. Okay, so do you see how here, you know, I just plopped it on there, but look, I'm outside of my pink line. So I want to make sure I'm always inside that line like we talked about, because again, when we send it out, we want to make sure they don't cut off any of our images or any of our text. So we're going to put a safe line for us so we don't go past that line. All right, and say I just want to look at my layout without all these lines. I do control semicolon or command semicolon. I'm like, okay, that looks pretty decent. I'll keep it. So it shows you what you're working with. All right, so now let's do a text, another color box, and we're going to start playing with some text and how to connect text, because sometimes you have more text that fits in one box and you want to connect it to a different box. So what we'll do is draw another rectangle. We will fill it. We don't want any kind of border. We will fill it with one of our theme colors and our muted themes. That'll work. And then now how do I get this behind Surf's Up in that orange box? What do I do, Elise?
Surf up behind. Oh, you right click on the box that you're moving and go to.
It's one of these.
Wait, I know it. Arrange.
Yep.
And then send it to back. Or,
Yeah.
Or maybe just backward.
Yep. That's it. Because you send it back, it goes behind the image. So we'll send it backward. It's still not enough. So we just arrange, send it backward again. Now these, I use this a lot, these shortcuts. And if you want to start looking and memorizing shortcuts, is good because you'll be using something like this a lot. So you can also do control on PC, command, and just do your little bracket. So that's all the way in the back. This is all the way in the front. Okay, so I'm just pressing the bracket keys. Okay. All right.
I have
So
a question.
sure.
Would you say that when you are in when you use InDesign and when you create layouts, is this how you go about making the design? Is like you make your own boxes and you do like color blocking, would you say? Is that like a good strategy? I mean, I
Yeah.
assume you're showing us because that's what you actually do, but
Oh yeah, yeah, yes, you can do anything. These are just like simple options. You don't have to do boxes. Like sometimes you might just want text right over this tree, and I can show you both, right? You can
yeah.
do whatever. It's like however you want to lay it out. But yeah, this is a good way because
Okay.
you want these big bold elements. I like a lot of images when I create something. Like I think images like just look really stunning on a layout. It looks really pretty.
Yeah.
So it's really whatever you would like to do, but I like just the whole idea of these boxes and the elements, but that's just a style, but whatever your style is.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so let's put this here at the bottom, and then I'm gonna do a box here. And this box I'll make white. I don't want any type of border. And then I want on this box to change the opacity. So I don't want it to stark white. but I am going to go here. Again, I'm clicking on the box. All my options are here. So let's change this to maybe 70%. So I'll put this box here right in the corner. Then I'll put another box here right beside it. Now, say this box is here and I want to line these boxes up, but I want them lined up at the bottom. I can press this, I can press Shift, and then this gives me an option for aligning. This also is across Adobe programs, and I want to align the bottom. If you see that line here, align bottom edges, and it pops it down there for me. Now, of course, I could do it myself. I can move it around and I can see that little green line that pops up at the bottom. If you see, I can do it myself, but you can also use your tools. All right, so I'm going to close this in. Now, when you are working with these big spreads, a lot of times what happens is, now I'm not really creating a magazine, because if you think about what a magazine is that the magazine printer, if you can imagine one in your mind, when you have a flat page like this page wouldn't necessarily be connected to this page that matches this page, if that makes sense. Because what happens is they layer all of the pages and then they fold the book. So this page could be connected to page 56 in the back, even if this is page 2, or excuse me, 57, because it would be odd and even, if that makes sense. So I know it's sort of a complicated idea, but if you think about how things are laid out, when you are really laying something out, it can seem a little bit complicated, but there are templates and things that say, if you have a 60-page document, you're going to design for page 2, but you're also going to design for page 37 because of the way it's folded and stacked up together and folded in half, if that makes sense. Or 2, it would probably be 2 and whatever at the end of the book. Does that make sense? It's sort of like you'll get it. But if you're just doing a document that this is the front page, and then you open it up, then that would be this, and you would have a back cover, But if you're creating a multi-document piece, you would have all these complicated numbers, but there's templates for that. There's things online for that to lay out. But just for the sake of this little tutorial, then we're going to line it up as if we are just doing a front cover inside, and we can actually just do an outside, if that makes sense. And we can make that into one page. Okay. All right. That was a little bit of a tangent. So anyway, all right. So now we have this. Okay. So now I want to fill in these boxes with text. And again, I still want to be aware of my margin. I like the white box going to the middle of the page, but I also want to be aware when I create my text within these boxes, I still don't want to go past this, because say, for example, something happens and it's folded or stapled or whatever. I don't want to put any text right up into the middle line, because it might get lost. So just keep those things in mind when you're designing. That's why you have your borders, and that's why you have your margins. Okay, so now I want to create a text box here. And if I want a precision, if I wanted it 1/8 all around, I can use my rulers and create. Actually, let me go ahead and do that, so we can just show you how to do that. So for example, if I wanted to create text within my text box here, I would take let me zoom in a little bit. All right, so a lot of times, any kind of designer, y'all both know this, but you want to be as precise as possible. So you can if you pull right in the corner, this is across all Adobe programs, but if you pull not the 2 or the 3, but you see this little square here, it's going to give me some crosshairs, okay? So I take these crosshairs and I pull them, and there's a little snap that happens where I'm snapped right on the corner of that box. When I did that, the 0 is now at the corner of that box. Okay, so if I wanted to snap the crosshairs to this corner of the box, look what happens at the top. The 0 moves here. Okay, so that helps you measure things. So like, for example, I'm going to put it back here. I'm going to zoom in. So here's my 1/4 inch. I want to move some guidelines. All I did was click. I'm still holding my mouse, the clicker on my mouse. So I put a guideline here and I put a guideline here at 1/4 inch. So now I have a 1/4 inch of just some breathing room around my box. Okay, so I'm going to make another one here. I'm going to take my crosshairs. I'm clicking in the corner. I'm clicking and holding right now my mouse. Click on this corner. The 0 is zeroed out here. And then I'll do the same thing. Bring my 1/4 inch here. I'll do the same thing at the bottom. Take these crosshairs. Click on the corner. My 1/4. I think they're locked. Oopsie. Pull this down. 1/4 inch here. Okay. You can move these to, if they're off, which that one was off a little bit. All right, so then you control 0. So now I just have like a little bit of a guide for myself. So when I create my text box, I can create it based on these lines. So now I'll go, I don't think I have filler text, do I? Okay, no. So copy, I'll get some more filler text. So now I have it bound within that box, and that just keeps it like nice and neat. And let me do another one here. I'm going to take it in the corner, zero it out, bring my 1/4 inch there, Control Z. So now I'm going to create another text box. So do you see this plus here? We talked about it. Is that there's more text here. So if I click on this text, this little plus, do you see what happens? I just clicked on it. I'm not holding on anything on the mouse, but it's ready for me to put this text somewhere else. So I click on the corner and I draw a bounding box. And now my text is in that bounding box. And there's still more text. So then I can click on this. Click on it. Oh, it must be just space. There's just like blank space. So sometimes like if it looks like there's something extra, there might just be blank space at the bottom. And you can delete it. Yeah. So it took away all that. So now I don't have any red pluses. That means I have all my text in here, which is exactly what I wanted. Okay. So you can, again, delete it, look at your lines and see what you have, and you can just start seeing some type of design going on. Now, this text is not really what I want, so I'm going to highlight it. Now, watch what happens when I click in here and I highlight it, Control A or Command A. It highlights all of my text because these two boxes are now connected. So I can change all of my text. And I can make it bigger. Now, of course, when I make it bigger, it's going to come over here. So I just can draw another text box, and you can work on however you want it, but you can start playing around to make sure your text fits. And I can put, let's make this big. I'm going to put a word here. I just use my text tool to make a word. Happy. We have about 30 minutes. And I will make this large, let's say 125. And I will make it white. Okay. I'm gonna make it even bigger. Making it bigger by doing Command Shift or Control Shift. Now I want to make sure that this text is on top of the P. So I just simply click on it, right click on it, arrange, bring the front. Okay, just simple stuff. Okay. Now I wanted to show you guys, let me move this up a little bit so it's not All right. All right, so you can start to see like a little bit of a layout developing, and so you know how I talked about you don't want it in the middle of the page. Something like this, you want to be aware of, like you have to remember where your fold is, right? So let's do control semicolon. So even if it folds a little bit here, you can still get the idea of what you're trying to say, and that's okay. So you want to pay attention to where your folds will be so your design won't look funky when you get it printed. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's that. What else did I want to show you guys? Arranging text, text going around an object. Okay, all right, cool. So now, do you remember when I said that I wanted to show you? Wait, first of all, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Are you guys getting the hang of the whole idea of? It's pretty straightforward. But
Can you remind me how did you, like, you made those blue guidelines
yeah.
and then, but how did you make it so that they went away and then they came back,
Yeah.
hiding the view?
Sure. It's what's that, Babino? Or was
No,
that?
I didn't
Oh,
see.
okay. Sorry. I'm hearing myself. Or right. I'm hearing Elise's echo. Okay. So you just do control semicolon on a PC or command semicolon. Is that what you mean? Is that what you meant, Elise?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You're just toggling them on and off by doing control
Okay.
semicolon. Yeah. All right. So that also gives you a nice way to see everything nice and clean.